So that beautiful prayer, Diana, kind of queued up our theme for today as we're working with the idea of a world that works for all. And that is that the highest God and the innermost God are one God. This is from Ernest Holmes' statement of what we believe. We believe in the unity of all life and that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. So there isn't a couple of different forces out there. There's just one. Just one. And guess what the good news is? We're one of it. That's the good news. So this God operates through love and law. It's the core teaching of Ernest Holmes. God is both love and law. The Taoists might say it's the yin and the yang. Okay? And the love is this God, this infinite presence that just is love. You know, I love the Emily Cady quote that God is not loving. That is, God is not a being that is loving. God is love itself. And so God just is love. But it also operates through what Ernest Holmes calls law. And law is simply the creative process. It's the process of creation. And the key word there is process. It's the verb, it's the action, it's the activity. So when you think of planting a seed and the flower grows or the plant grows from the seed, that is the process of creativity. That is the law in action. And if we have just soil and we just leave it there, nothing happens, right? You got to plant something before it happens, right? Okay? We all know this. So all of creation conforms to the process of law. The law is always working. Just like in the reading today we talked about that gravity is always working, the law is always working. And we're always planting seeds. We're always planting seeds. By the very fact that we are conscious beings and not vegetables, we are planting seeds. I suppose even vegetables plant seeds in a way, don't they? But we plant seeds consciously. We have conscious choice about our seeds. So everything here is the infinite self contemplation of spirit. You and I and all of life are spirit contemplating itself. And when spirit contemplates itself, what it contemplates, it becomes. So it has taken the time and the thought and the energy to be you and me. You are a contemplation in the mind of God right this second. I know that because I can see you. Because we're here, right? So each of us is that spirit contemplating itself. Now we, being conscious manifestations of spirit, being in the image and likeness of spirit, we become what we contemplate ourselves as being. We reenact the same process in our own world, in our own individuality. So we become what we contemplate ourselves as being. I see Sue back there, so she knows this from the World Parliament of Religions. Are you with me? Okay, we become what we contemplate ourselves as being. Now the law says we cannot transcend the normal. We cannot transcend the normal. So we ask the question, what is my normal? See, the seeds we plant are the seeds that we continue to plant until we change the seeds. So if I'm a farmer and my farm has always planted corn for years and years and years, and in springtime I go down to Bud's Feed and I say I want some, I decided to turn my farm into a winery and I want grapes, and the seed guy goes, yeah, but your farm has always been corn, so I bought you corn. What am I going to get this year? More corn, because it's my normal. And I forgot to tell the guy that I was going to do something different. So if we want to change from planting corn to planting grapes or soy or something different, wheat, we have to change our normal. We have to change what it is that we view as our normal. If you like your life exactly as it is, that's your normal. Stick with it, except I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And if there's any area where you want to change, what you're getting now has been your normal up until now, and you have to start to change. We have to start to change what we view as our normal if we want to have something different. So in order to become more, I must expand my contemplation beyond my current idea of normal. Now here's the thing, since evolution, this is what I was going to say, we'll talk about this in a minute. Since evolution is always moving forward, the world is always moving forward, okay? Life is always expanding its expression. If I'm not expanding in my expression, then I have the experience of going backwards in relative to the universe process, right? So even if I try and stay exactly the same, I'm going to have, if I say, I like my life as it is, I'm not going to change anything about it, in 5 years or 10 years or whatever down the road, my life will have gone backwards relative to the rest of life. How many of you own smartphones? Right? How many of you 5 years ago owned smartphones? 1 or 2? Early adapters. When I moved from Seattle to Clarkson, Washington, Lewiston, Idaho, I literally in Seattle lived across the street from the Microsoft campus, okay? And I was used to everybody being plugged in, everybody was on email, everybody was on their cell phones, everybody was, technologically connected. And I moved to Clarkston, and my board president not only did not have a cell phone, did not have an answering machine on his regular phone, did not have email, and didn't answer his phone if you called him. The only way to get hold of him was to drive to his house and knock on his door, okay? Life had moved forward from that point. I moved him out as the board president with his willingness also. He was ready to be gone from that too. But my next board president checked her email once a week. And so about half the board was connected by email, and we'd have these discussions, make these decisions, then about a week later, the president would catch up with us, oftentimes with a different opinion. Okay? It was a technological shock for me. It was like moving backwards in time. And so life moves forward. Life is always moving forward. And if we're not expanding what it is that we're considering our normal, if we're not expanding our own life and our own imagination, then life is moving backwards. I was just talking with Shirley yesterday, and I love Shirley Wade up here. She's 80-something, 4 years old, right? 84? And she's in Practitioner 1 training right now. Twyla is the same age and going into practitioner training this coming fall. I know a whole lot of people who at 84 years old are sitting there going, my life is over, I'm just going to kind of hang out here until it ends, okay? And these people are going, hey, what's next? I'm living it forward, okay? And that's the attitude, that's the consciousness that we want to have. That's the consciousness that I want to have, is we keep moving forward. So we keep expanding what is my normal. So it's natural for us to want to have or be more. And the way that we do that, when we're wondering to know how to do that, Christian Larson in his little booklet, Your Forces and How to Use Them, says to apply the law for this purpose, deeply desire those conditions that you want and have a very clear idea in your mind as to what you want those conditions to be. There's a couple things in there. One, visualize, have in your consciousness what it is that you want clearly as you know how. And number two, have a deep desire for them. This is not a wishy-washy thing. You know, plants, when you plant them, they will grow no matter what, right? You know, they'll go through concrete, they'll grow in stone, we talked about this last week with that deep creative urge, the divine urge, as Ernest Holmes called it, that's the creative element of the universe. And it's powerful, it's passionate, it grows through whatever is in the way of it. You know, I was recently reminded of a study where scientists had taken, I think it was some sort of a squash, waited till it was about the size of a person's head, and then put bindings around it. And it grew something like 800,000 feet of roots and fibrous tissue inside trying to break through those roots. It was just doing everything it could to break these steel bands that were holding it. Okay? That's the creative urge. That's the life energy within us. And if we tap into that, if it's not even that we have to generate it, it's more that we have to let what's in us flow. You don't have to create your desire, you have to allow your desire to flow. It's like turning on the faucet full. And so my invitation to you this week is to turn on the faucet full. So our spiritual practice this week, we're going to move into another practice in a minute here, but our spiritual practice this week, 3 of them, One is to pick an area in your life that you would like to expand your idea of normal. Pick an area that you would like to expand beyond your current level of normal. Now here's the thing, your life doesn't have to be bad in order for it to get better, right? You'd have an area of your life that you like the way it's working now, but you'd like it working even better. Would you be okay with that? Okay, me too, right? So pick an area where you would like to expand your idea of normal. Secondly, contemplate yourself being in that. Start to visualize yourself being in that. Contemplate that. Start to act as though, as best you can, as though you already were in that. Okay? And then thirdly, build your desire or allow your desire to flow. Allow that passion to build and flow through you to say, yeah, I really want this. And one of the ways you do that is by contemplating what would my life be like if I was there already. How much fun would I be having? How much joy would I be experiencing? Okay, so that's our practice. Pick an area, visualize yourself there, and allow that desire to flow. Are we good with that practice for this week? Okay. And how about the rest of you? Are we good with that practice for this week? Yes. All right, thank you. I know you're the introverts. I know this is the quiet service. It's just once in a while, so get that passion moving. The second part of this day is something we do once a year, and that's we have our pledge drive ritual. So this month we've been involved in our pledge program for inviting you to consciously support, to declare how you're going to support the church in terms of finances, okay? And so the reason that we do a ritual is it's a coming together as a community. We are a community. As we've just kind of shared earlier today, we have our highs, we have our lows. I believe one thing I can't remember for sure if the Wolfstead's grandson has been born. Do you know? Not yet, okay. But that's an imminent thing happening any day now. So we share the births, we share the deaths, we share the birthdays, we share the engagements and the weddings, and we share all of that process, and we hold each other in that love and in that community. Malidoma Patrice Sommet, who wrote a book called Ritual, Power, Healing, and Community, says, a community is a place of self-definition. Without a community, you cannot be yourself. The community is where we draw the strength needed to effect changes inside of us. The individual can finally discover within the community something to relate to, because deep down inside each of us is a craving for an honoring of our individualism. And he goes on to say about ritual, we need ritual because it is an expression of the fact that we recognize the difficulty of creating a different and special kind of community. See, most of us in America, he talks about this, do stuff like working for corporations, which is a conglomeration of individuals just that happen to be together working for, as he calls it, a soulless entity. Okay? That's not a community. Now, you might form sub-communities within that because you might meet some people that you form a community with, but most of us in the West are not used to the idea of a deep connected community. And that's what a good spiritual community is a deeply connected community. So he goes on to say, a community that doesn't have a ritual cannot exist. Ritual enables us to live a life that is much closer to what our souls aspire to. So we're going to play today with a ritual. And I consider this a sacred process because we're not here to celebrate Easter or Christmas or a holiday. We're here to celebrate us. We're here to celebrate the community specifically known as the Center for Spiritual Living Reading. And we're here to honor our giving and our receiving and our coming together as a community in this process. And so I want to invite us to have this consciousness as we do this. So as a community, we share in the ongoing support of the community. And each of us in this process brings forward our gift and is honored. No one is judged by the size of the gift. Think of if you were in a large, say, African community, and each person brought into the tribal center whatever their gift was. And each of us honors what the gift is. Not judging and saying it should be something else, but we honor the gift. So we communally engage the law of giving, receiving. Giving, receiving. Each of our pledges is a gift from each of us to all of us. Okay? So there's no entity, the church, out there that I'm giving my money to. A lot of us grew up with that kind of consciousness, right? Give your money to the church, okay? I'm not the church. The board is not the church. We, all of us, are this center, are this church. Okay? Without we, there is no spiritual community. So we give and receive simultaneously. So our pledge is simply, if you haven't done this before, if you haven't been here for the last couple of weeks, our pledge is simply a written agreement of what you plan to give on a monthly or an annual basis, and you have a card inside of your program for you to fill out. A couple of weeks ago, I asked those who were here then to take it home with you and pray about it, think about it, meditate upon it, what is right for you. And today's the day that you come down off of that mountaintop and bring the gift, just like the hero comes back from the hero's journey and brings their gift back to the village. So today is the day that we share in our giving, and we share in our gift of what it is that's right for us to give into this community. So it's not about supporting the impersonal church. It's not about pleasing some deity who's going to judge you. You know, God does not care how much you do or don't give. God loves you anyways, right? Yes. You're immersed in a field of love. I love you anyways. We will all love you anyways, whether you do, whether you don't. Okay? But it's about supporting ourselves in community. So in a moment, we're going to do a process where there's this wonderful bowl up here that we're going to bring our pledges up. I'm going to invite the pledge committee up. We can come up now. And we have a beautiful gift because we believe in giving and receiving, so we want you to receive. And so Reverend Mary and the practitioners and ministers have created this book, which is a month worth of prayers, one for each month, in this beautiful, in all sorts of different colors of paper for you to receive. Yes, I will. Do you have stickers or not stickers?
Oh, we gave them at the door.
Okay.
But we can do that if they don't have one.
If you don't have a sticker and you're going to give a pledge, we want you to have the sticker, because that's our way of identifying and saying you pledged. And I want to thank, while we're doing this really quickly, the pledge committee. Sally Foster headed that up. They've been holding the vision for with a quote from Eric Butterworth, again from Spiritual Economics. He says, "Let us remember the principle that God can do no more for us than he can through us. The receiving is always a greater flow from within. It may be a flow of love or guidance or life or success-producing ideas, but the receiving is in the same stream as the giving. The faucet is open so that it can give, and the more it gives, the greater flow by which to give. It may provide refreshment and the means of cleanliness for a household, but it is simply giving of itself. It may seem impractically idealistic to say that the purpose of giving is not to receive, but to give. And yet, the moment we focus on receiving, we begin to lose the flow of giving. You are the windows of heaven, and you will be poured out as a blessing." So let us move into prayer. And so in deep gratitude, we remember there is this one life, this one infinite presence, one life. Nothing is lost in this life. Nothing is separate in this life. There's only one life. That life is pure love. That life is pure light. That life is pure good, pure beauty, pure joy, pure peace. That life is all there is. We are one of that life. And so when we are immersed in this abundance of good, we cannot give without receiving. We cannot receive without giving. They are the in-breath and the out-breath of the universe. And so we know that as we engage in this process, and I speak my word that today we experience that more deeply than ever before. That we allow ourselves to give, and we allow the universe then to continue to give to and through us. And so the receiving is just simply being open to more of the giving of the universe. The giving is just simply sharing our gifts to the receiving of the universe. And so we engage in this process, we engage in this practice with joy, with love, with a consciousness of giving, in a full awareness that we are spirit in form. That we give not from necessity, we give not from obligation, we give not from fear, but we give from joy, we give from love, and we give with a deep knowing that whatever we give returns to us multiplied, because that is the nature of the universe. And for this, and for each person who is engaged in this practice today, and for each person who engages in this practice throughout this week and this month and this year, I am ever so grateful. I know that as we give, we receive. And that is the way that we live our lives, every aspect of our lives. And so I release this word into a law that moves it into form and expression and experience just because it is the nature of the law. Not because we say it is so, but because it is the nature of law. And so it does. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you.
To love, serve.